I absolutely adore Terry Pratchett's stuff. Everything that he wrote, I've read many, many times. In fact, I'm very fond of saying I've been going to bed with Terry Pratchett for 25 years now. Make of that what you will.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Misshelved, your biweekly dose of bookstore love. I'm your host, Nicole Brinkley, and as always, I feel like I say this every episode, I am so excited for you to listen to today's episode. If you're new here, welcome. Every 2 weeks, I introduce you to an independent bookseller in conversation with an author they love. This week's bookseller is Melissa Taylor.
Hi, I'm Melissa Taylor. I am one of the owners of E. Shaver Booksellers in Savannah, Georgia.
Melissa and I had the pleasure of sitting on the Indies Introduce panel together earlier this year. If you don't know what that is, it means we read a bunch of debut kids titles that were coming out this year and picked out our 10 favorites for the second half of the year. You can Google it and see our full list. There's a lot of really good books on there, and I trust Melissa's judgment implicitly after talking to her for weeks and weeks about books. Girl has great taste. Melissa is in conversation with one of her all-time favorite authors, Jodi Taylor.
Hi, I'm Jodi Taylor, and I am the author of The Chronicles of St. Mary's and one or two other series as well.
When I tell you I did not want this conversation to end, even though I had to stop the recording to go to work because we were recording it at 8 a.m, please know I mean it. This is one of the most fun conversations I've been able to listen to. This is going to be our last episode for a month as I take a little mid-season break to take an actual vacation to celebrate my 30th birthday. Present to myself. But for now, settle in as these two talk about everything to do with time travel, writing, and Henry VIII's codpiece. Yeah, I wasn't expecting it either.
Okay, Melissa, hit me.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, I am just beyond thrilled that you agreed to talk to me today because I am a crazy huge fan.
Well, that is very kind of you to say so. Thanks very much.
I mean, when Nicole first asked me to be on the show and was talking about the authors I would want to speak to, like, I was looking at my bookshelves and I was like, the book series that I just go back to over and over again, just for comfort read, for pleasure read, are the Chronicles of St. Mary's. Like, I just love them. They are catnip for me. My husband and I both have read all of them multiple times, and we first found them on audiobook. And I wanted to ask you, how much input did you have into who your narrator was for the audiobook?
I would love to take the credit for this, but actually, like most authors, I suspect, I wasn't offered any choice at all. When I started my other series, Audible did occasionally write to me and say, we have 5 narrators here. Please listen to each sample paragraph and let us know which one you would like. And so I would diligently weigh them all up, clarity, pronunciation, etc. And I would carefully write back and say, I liked number 3 best, followed by number 4, followed by number 1, and so on. And they would completely ignore everything I said and go for somebody else completely different. I am thrilled with Zara, I have to say, and I've met her. She's a lovely person. We had lunch together. And it was so strange to hear Max's voice coming out of somebody else's mouth, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. I think she's incredible. Like, that was my first introduction to the series, was her reading the first book. And that's just what I think of now. Like, I think of Zara, and I think she does such an incredible job of capturing Max.
Yes,
Yeah.
and such a range of voices as well. I believe they call them voice actors now rather than narrators. But
Yeah.
yes, she's got this staggering array of accents and voices. And I actually was asked by Audible to read one of my stories, and I did, and it was far more difficult than I thought it would be. And I had unknowingly written several tongue twisters. So when I met her over lunch, I did say, "Is there anything I can do to make your life easier?" And she put down her fork with something of a snap and said yes. And I thought, oh, now I'm in trouble. And it turned out that halfway through, I think it was the sixth book, I suddenly revealed that Mr. Evans was not from Wales, but was actually from Halifax in Yorkshire instead. And she had 3 lines to phase out the Welsh accent and phase in the Yorkshire accent, and I had to promise seriously never to do that again. So now I have to say I am a much nicer and more considerate author, and I do try and give her clues when I introduce a new character as to how they sound. But yeah, I was definitely not flavour of the month that day.
That's really interesting. I would never have thought of that. Oh, wow.
No, I hadn't either, but apparently it made her life very difficult.
I can see that. So for people who don't know about the Chronicles of St. Mary, would you give just kind of a little explanation for what the series is and what it's about?
Yes, certainly. It's about a bunch of time-travelling historians who jump back in time to witness major historical events, because, of course, you can't rely on history books or the account written by the winners or the religious account or the political account or whatever. So they jump back to see what actually happened at Thermopylae, the Battle of Hastings, and so forth. And of course, because there must be jeopardy, nothing ever goes right for them. They are a bunch of complete disaster magnets who, frankly, shouldn't be allowed out on their own. And this is the author saying that.
They need an adult.
They need half a dozen, plus a cattle prod and a couple of good sheepdogs as well.
Without a doubt, yes. So I would imagine that because the history in these books is so important, and it's clear that you have done research and you know what you're talking about. I might be completely wrong, but I assume you enjoy history and studying history.
I do. I was taking A-levels, which are an advanced examination, and I did it as an adult because I'm living my life backwards. And I was sitting history A-levels just for fun because, my life is very sad. And one day the head teacher came in. These were evening classes in the local school. And he said, you better all make sure you pass your exams because we're not doing the humanities any longer. The government gives grants for IT courses. Rightly so, obviously. But the school was devoting its entire resources to IT courses. And so there would be no more law, history, geography, philosophy, English language, English literature, and so forth. And I was a little bit outraged by this, but obviously, like most people, did absolutely nothing. And then years later, when I started to write, I had this really weird idea that I would single-handedly revive an interest in history nationwide and replace the deficit in our education system. And initially, it was going to be all about the history, and Max was simply the narrator, and St. Mary's was simply the mechanism to get them wherever they were going. And of course, because I have absolutely no control over large areas of my life, St. Mary's and Max and everything just bubbled completely out of control, giving us the organisation that we know and love today.
Okay. Yeah, that's one of the things that I really appreciated about this series, because I ended up with a minor in history in college because that was all I ever wanted to take as electives. In fact, I think I took a whole extra year of college because I just took history electives. So I find the history fascinating, and the idea of going back and seeing these things in contemporary time. Like, the one that really stuck with me was the fall of Troy. Like, that part of that book is just so amazing to me. Like, the idea of being there when this city is being sacked. I just think that's incredible. And I think you did an amazing job immersing people in that and making them feel like they're actually there.
Well, thank you very much indeed. I was actually in Turkey when I wrote that, although sadly I never got to Troy. I was simply too busy to get there. But I did sit down and think about it very carefully, and I have always felt that it wasn't about Helen of Troy at all, because in those days women simply weren't that important. If you read Homer, princesses were always being kidnapped right, left and centre. and I often feel, if you were a princess and it was a slow day, you just went down to the harbour and waited for somebody to kidnap you. So I did all of Troy without the fabulous Helen, but I did include Achilles and, of course, the famous duel with Hector, because that's the whole crux of the thing, isn't it? Once Hector died, it was all downhill from there. But it was fabulous to write about, I have to say. And I was completely immersed. There were maps, diagrams, charts, details of what people wore, details of what they ate, just pinned up all around my flat at the time. It was like mini Troy.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you have sort of a murder board situation when you're planning out your novels, because so many of them, it seems like Lord of the Rings, the movies, where it could have ended 6 different times, but there's still more to it. It's like you pack so much in there, and it's like, okay, so we've got to be wrapping up now. Oh, wait, no.
It's odd you should say that, actually. I'm just wrapping up a St. Mary's book now. And before we started talking, I was staring at the screen thinking, I really have to make a series of decisions here. Otherwise, this is just going to go on forever and ever and ever, because there's always something to say. And finding a cut-off point is sometimes very difficult indeed, because, as I say, if you think about it, there's always another part to add on. Great restraint has to be exercised on my part sometimes.
So do you have a plan for how you want the whole series to wrap up? And did you have that plan when you set out? Like, was this something that you envisioned, like, down the road?
Oh, now I don't want you to be upset about this, but initially I was only going to write the one book. I simply wanted to see if I could write a book, whether I had the mental discipline to do so. And because it was only going to be one book, I killed them all off at the end. Everybody died horribly, I'm afraid.
I'm really glad that that's not the way that ended up. That would have broke my heart.
Well, no, I was going through and editing it, and I was pulling out so much stuff, and I thought there's enough here for a second book. And then when I got down to it, there was enough for a third book as well. And ever since then, it's been like running away downhill. I just can't stop.
Very good. And then you have the series about the Time Police that's an offshoot of an organization from the St. Mary's books.
I do, yes. I was writing away one day and I suddenly thought how irritating St. Mary's must be from the Time Police point of view. I mean, we've all come across these irresponsible people who just dance through life with no cause or concern for the chaos that they're causing the poor, hard-working time police officers. So I thought I would try and put together something from an opposite point of view, without a great deal of hope, actually. But strangely, my publishers leapt on me, thrust a contract under my nose, and after that, I didn't have any choice at all.
So, do you recommend reading those in any sort of chronological order within the St. Mary's books, or do those like just sit by themselves and you don't have to read them with the main storyline?
St. Mary's takes place before the Time Police, so it's quite possible to read through the whole series. I will actually finish the St. Mary's series with Matthew joining the Time Police, as he does in the first book of the Time Police. So it'll be like stitching the two series together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. Okay, that's cool. I like that. So time travel figures prominently in these books, obviously, and it's such a popular mechanism in all of pop culture. Like, what do you think the appeal of time travel is?
I think it's very similar to our fascination with dinosaurs. They're a long way away and we're perfectly safe and nothing can hurt us, but you can go and investigate dinosaurs or the Battle of Hastings or really, theoretically, you should be safe within your pod. But of course, we all know that that never actually happens, does it? I think it's a way of investigating sometimes dangerous situations without physically incurring any danger. I'm not sure that that makes sense, but I think we would all like to go back and see some favourite moment in history.
Well, and I like too that in your books, they're not able to use time travel to necessarily fix things in their own lives, because they're not allowed to exist in the same place at the same time. Like, they can't travel to a place that they've been.
Yeah, when I started to write these, that it was necessary to impose some rules, because otherwise, if they went to, say, the coronation of Elizabeth I and something went wrong, they could just go back and do it again and do it again and do it again until they got it right. That's too easy. You have to introduce some sort of jeopardy, like what would happen if there were two of you in the same place at the same time, as actually happens in one of the books. And the results are pretty horrific. So this was jeopardy, but it's entirely author imposed, because I don't know what the rules of time travel would be if we ever did manage to achieve that. So I'm talking now with my author hat on. I think you have to have jeopardy, and let's face it, St. Mary's has more jeopardy than most.
Yeah, there's a lot of jeopardy.
There is, isn't there? I sit there with my pen and I think, how could this possibly get even worse? Oh, I know. And away I go again.
Yeah, so you have a unique talent for getting them into some scrapes that you don't think they're going to make it out of.
Well, I didn't really want the series to be like a television series with a core of people who come back every week or every episode. I wanted to kill people off because I wanted my readers to know that it was perfectly possible, that when they got themselves into a fix, there was a very distinct possibility they wouldn't all make it back again.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the great things about the series, is that you never know what's going to happen, because there are times, and even early on, where I was reading them and I was like, oh my God, did she just do that?
Yeah.
Did that just happen?
Yeah, I'm afraid she just did.
Yeah. So,
yes.
Yeah, I've introduced them to many of the booksellers at the bookstore, and one of them is actually reading through them just now, and she just is finishing the fourth book. And like, she'll text me and be like, I'm sorry, what just happened here? It's like, no, it's okay. Just hold on, I promise.
Well, firstly, thank you very much. A grateful author says thank you. There's definitely a place in author heaven reserved for you. Thank you very much for that.
I'm a huge fangirl for the series, and I think they're amazing. But since I have you here,
That sounds ominous.
No, not ominous at all. I wanted to ask you, because you are located in the UK.
I am.
I am actually traveling to London and Scotland for the first time in November and December, and I was wondering if you could give me some don't miss destinations that may not be like typical touristy things. Like, what should I visit? Like, as a book nerd. Yeah, what should I go to?
Firstly, I've only ever been to Scotland once, and that was to Edinburgh Castle, which I do recommend. I know it is a touristy thing, but it is fabulous, and I think you will enjoy it there. Edinburgh City itself, the Royal Mile, is wonderful to explore and very exciting. Regarding London, sadly, again, I don't know it very well, and only touristy things. I've just come back from a visit there, and I spent all day in the British Museum, which is addictive. You just move from gallery to gallery to gallery, and it's all absolutely fabulous. And also the Tower of London is tremendous. Do go to the Tower if you possibly can. There's a tremendous amount of history there, together with Henry VIII's famous codpiece, in his armor. Yeah, it's a little bit of wishful thinking, I think. when they made that for him. You could serve a pudding in it, quite honestly. Heaven knows what they were all thinking. I mean, Fat Harry, never one to underestimate himself anyway. But if you can, definitely check out Henry VIII's codpiece.
All right. I am putting that on the top of my list.
Yes. There's culture for you.
Yeah, it's true. That's exactly the kind of tips I'm looking for.
Don't mention my name, whatever you do.
Yes, Jodi sent me to check out the codpiece.
Yes, because I'm not in enough trouble already, am I?
Yeah. Well, okay, and then one of the other things I think you'll need to help me out with, because I am an American through and through, tea. I don't understand it. You talk about it a lot in the St. Mary's books. Tea has a prominent role in St. Mary's, and I believe in the British culture in general. Like, I'm a coffee drinker and I understand the caffeination, but tea seems to be more than just caffeination.
Yes. I think I say in one of the books somewhere, the whole point of tea is, by the time you've filled the kettle and it's boiled and you've laid out the teacups and argued over who wants milk and who wants lemon and whether anybody's having sugar or not, and the tea has brewed and then been poured into the cups and everybody has sat down to drink it, whatever crisis was going on is usually over with by then. Or if you were all having a major row, people have calmed down in the time it takes to brew the tea. So a lot of the time it's essentially a peacemaking technique.
Yeah, it does seem more like cultural than just a beverage.
Oh, yes. There have been whole wars fought over whether the milk goes in first and then the tea is poured, or whether the tea is poured and then the milk goes in. Blood has been shed over this question. I've sidestepped the whole thing because I have lemon. I think milk is the juice of the devil. And so I have a nice cup of tea with a couple of slices of lemon in it is very refreshing.
It's strong tea opinions.
I have to say, though, in my own defense as well, as you regard tea, I regard coffee. It's not something I've ever been able to get to like at all. And it's really strange because I love coffee and walnut cake and coffee creams and coffee ice cream. It's just the drink coffee itself. I really, really can't get on with it at all.
Interesting.
It is, isn't it?
Well, and I'm kind of the same way. I like baked goods that have like tea in them, like shortbread that has like Earl Grey tea in it. It's just the drink itself that I just have never been able to get into. It's so strange.
Well, there you go. Possibly we're just a pair of freaks.
I think that's probably safe to say.
Here's a tip for you. Do try this. If you have dried fruit, raisins, sultanas, currants, etc., chuck them in a bowl and soak it in tea overnight. And the fruit swells up and becomes fabulously juicy. And then the next morning, and I can't give you exact quantities because it's a personal thing, but hurl in a couple of eggs and some flour until you get a nice gloopy consistency. Chuck it in a loaf tin and cook it very slowly for an hour or so, and you get the most fabulous tea bread. It is delicious and very moist.
Ooh.
Yeah, give it a whirl.
That's really cool.
Well, there you go. Recipes included.
That is not something you can do with coffee, I will just say.
No, it probably eats its way out of the bowl.
Yeah, not something that you can do with coffee. What kind of books and like pop culture sort of TV shows, what sort of things do you find to inspire you in your writing?
Oh, lots of things do. Sadly, one of the things I've stopped doing is when I started to write, especially in the time travel genre, I gave up reading in that particular genre because I didn't want to absorb anybody's ideas, or that really worried me a lot. So I moved on to other things. I'm very fond of detective stories because the puzzle is everything, isn't it? Working out the puzzle. Yeah. I absolutely adore Terry Pratchett's stuff. Everything that he wrote, I've read many, many times. In fact, I'm very fond of saying I've been going to bed with Terry Pratchett for 25 years now. Make of that what you will. I'm just looking at my bookshelves at the moment. Historical stuff, obviously. Basically, anything that's got a good story. I'm not particularly bothered which genre it's in. Does it bother you? Do you stick to just one or two genre, or do you literally read everything put in front of you?
I literally read everything put in front of me, and it's kind of an occupational hazard that I sort of need to be aware of things in a large amount of genres, but I also really just enjoy reading in a large amount of genres. Like actually some of my favorite books are like middle grade novels. Like I think the writing for that age range of children is incredibly smart in a way that I don't think young adult necessarily is. Young adult is its own thing, and I have no problem with young adult, but I think like middle grade writing to be interesting to that age range of children has to be written in a way that is way more gripping than people give it credit for, I think. But I do read eclectically across all genres. Although I will say I have gotten to the point now that if a book doesn't grab me within 50 pages, I put it down. I used to be that person who, if I started a book, I would finish it, but I've realized there's way too many books in the world.
There are, aren't there? There was a big discussion about this on my Facebook page a couple of months ago, and many people were saying exactly the same thing. Whether there were fewer books when I was younger, I don't know, and whether they were more expensive in the scheme of things. And so if you started a book, you felt morally bound to finish it. I don't know. But the consensus these days seems to be There are too many good books out there waiting for attention. If it's not grabbing you, put it down and give it to somebody else who might enjoy it.
Exactly. Like we were doing our inventory at the shop where we literally are scanning every single book on the shelves to make sure of what we had in inventory was correct. And I was, 8 hours into scanning all of these books, and I had this thought like, one of these books that I'm scanning could be my favorite book ever, but I'll never know because I don't have the time to read it. And I was like, okay, now I need to go sit in the corner and rock and cry because that is the saddest thought I've ever had.
I am haunted by the fact that out there are books that I haven't read yet. And I'm having difficulty coming to terms with the fact that there are books out there that I haven't read yet and might not be able to.
Yeah, it's really sad. And I always, anytime I have like free reading time, like if I'm going to go on vacation or, just I have a day that I can, just sit down and read, I always make this giant stack of books that is like, it's more books than I could read in like 3 weeks, but I'm very excited about the idea. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to get through all of this. It never happens, but I like to set high goals.
I do worry that I might find myself somewhere without anything to read.
Yeah, I always have a book in my bag with me for sure. So most of the time I have 2 or 3 because I don't make it home from work without bringing new books with me literally every single day. I mean,
yes. For me, it would be like working in a chocolate factory. I just would not be able to resist bringing the stock home with me every night.
The struggle is real, I tell you. Unfortunately, my husband, I met him working at a bookshop. So we both have the same addiction to books. So that is never going to be a problem. Like when I come home with stacks of books every day, he's like, okay, like we'll just have to rearrange the bookshelves. I was like,
yeah. I've just had to go out and buy a new bookshelf, and I thought one would be sufficient, and I've grossly underestimated. So I'm going to have to go and move the furniture around so that I can free up another piece of wall so I can buy another bookshelf. Yeah, it's, as you say, the struggle is real, isn't it?
It really is. We just went through recently, and like I was very harsh about it and culled the herd and got rid of things that I was like, I'm either never going to read this or I'm not going to read it again. And I've just been holding on to it. So I went through and pulled stuff out to the point that our bookshelves weren't all completely double stacked and stacks of books everywhere. And we re-alphabetized everything. And that took like, a couple weeks, but we got to a place where they all looked really pretty and everything was nice. And then I went to work for a few days and it's all gone to hell again.
Somehow I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, it did not take long. It happened very quickly.
Yes, the temptation must be overwhelming, actually. Do you regard yourself as giving the books a good home? Is that how you sell it to yourself?
Yes, I mean, I don't want them to be out on the streets getting into trouble, right? So I bring them home. I let them have the comfort of a nice house for a little while, and then I move them to a free little library, and they go on about their business. It's the same way that I regard like rescue dogs. I'm like, they need a home. Let's just bring them here.
I never thought of that, actually. Rescue books. You should tell people that's what I do. I rescue books. That's
right. I rescue books. And yes, I just need to, I was going to say I need people to give me donations so I have more time to read them.
Time is the problem, actually. Now that I write, I don't read anything like as much as I used to. And I really miss it as well. A morning where I don't actually have to write something or edit something or do something writing connected, where I can just sprawl on the sofa with a mug of tea and a good book is wonderful. It's a big treat for me.
Yeah, there have been times where after talking to authors, I'm like, What if I sat down with the idea of actually writing something? And the idea of it is so daunting to me. Like, so you sat down and wrote the first St. Mary's book just to see if you could write a book. How do you get started? Like, how do you break through that?
It was, well, actually, it's a little bit unconventional, but I don't start at the beginning. I don't really map out much plot. Probably it shows sometimes. But the one thing I do work out is the end, because I need to know where I'm going. And then once I know how the story will end, I pick a good, strong scene in the middle of the book, maybe somebody having a row with somebody else or something terrible happening. And I let rip with that. And then when that's done, I then have two directions I can move in. I can continue from the end of that scene towards the end of the book, or I can start with the beginning of that scene and move back towards the beginning of the book. And sometimes I do that 3 or 4 times, like a speckled effect, and start linking the scenes together. And in that way, I do not sit down with a blank screen in front of me and think, oh Lord, I have 350 pages to write. Quite often, with that way, there is no rule that says you have to write a book in a linear fashion. And I find it very liberating, actually, because then I can hop about all over the book, because sadly, your brain never does as it tells you. And when you're supposed to be concentrating on a particular scene, my brain wanders off and thinks about a scene towards the end of the book. And I always think to myself, I must remember that. And of course, I'm at the age now where I don't remember anything at all. And it's really frustrating to know that I had this fabulous scene worked out and I've completely forgotten all of it. So when the brain speaks, the hand writes, so to speak, if that makes any sort of sense to you. So I end up with I always think of it as the story is like a massive duvet and I'm trying to shove the cover on it, wearing boxing gloves and doing it in the dark, because it's vast and unwieldy, and the same scene appears several times because I can't work out where's the best place to use it, and I just generally go insane for a month or so, and then all of a sudden it all starts to come together. And I'm really sorry if you were expecting somebody measured and efficient, and I'm not. I'm just all over the place, I'm afraid.
I think I would have been disappointed if you had been measured. Because I think my favorite was like the very first email like exchange that we had, and I read it to my husband. I was like, oh my God, she's Max. It makes me so happy.
Sadly, I am not as together as Max is, and Max is a great deal braver than me. In times of crisis, I tend to assume a fetal position and wait for somebody else to sort it all out.
I think we book people are the same with that. Just stay down and quiet.
Yes. But, I mean, give it a whirl. Roughly map out your story and then write the ending first, or write the middle first. I have to say that the beginning is usually the last thing I write, or round about the last thing I write, because I know my characters so much better by then, and I know what problems they're going to have in the book, so I can include little teasers in the opening scenes. Have a think about that.
Okay. And then do you have like a schedule that you write on, or do you just like when the moment takes you, you write?
Oh, I write all the time. You know, we've touched on my appalling memory. I have notebooks all over the house, including the bathroom, and they're all stiff and crinkly because I keep dropping them in the bath because I have my best thoughts in the bath. So,
it's true. Moments of brilliance in the bathtub.
Indeed. I write all the time. I don't write as much in the afternoon because for some reason I'm rubbish in the afternoons and I don't know why. But yes, there's always a notebook, always a laptop nearby. I've stopped sleeping with my laptop because I had an idea that wasn't healthy.
No, probably not.
So I and my laptop are now in separate rooms at night. You know, our relationship has calmed down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way marriages go.
It is, isn't
Sometimes
it?
you need your own space.
Yeah, the first flush of enthusiasm is gone. We're in separate beds now.
Yeah, yeah. At least your laptop doesn't snore. Um,
No, sadly, I do that. My sinuses will kill me one day. I just know it.
Whereas my husband's sinuses will kill me one day.
Oh, that's a shame.
It's all right. He's good otherwise. When you were saying that you're rubbish in the afternoons, like I have found that as I have gotten older, because I'm in my early 40s, and yeah, the afternoon sleepies and just not being functional is a real thing as well.
Yes, when I had a proper job, I was never a morning person, and none of my people would come anywhere near me until I'd had at least 2 cups of tea.
We are very similar in that regard. Like, there's a reason I go into work at 11.
But interestingly, since I retired and took up writing, I write much better in the mornings, and I have no idea why. And then it's as if, I don't know, there's a kind of seismic shift at lunchtime, and I go into generally useless mode. I mean, obviously, I can't not work. So that's when I do my research or a bit of admin or tidy up my notes or whatever. But creatively, I'm tons better in the morning than the afternoon. And it's really weird, isn't it?
It is. I'm very much used to being, like if I had my druthers and was able to just go to bed at the time that I wanted to and wake up when I wanted to, I would go to bed at like 11 o'clock at night and wake up naturally at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm that freak that needs that much sleep to be functional. And yeah, unfortunately, that's not the way the adult world works most of the time.
No, sadly.
Yeah, my dogs are not on the same schedule as me either, so that's problematic.
Employers seem to have a great problem allowing their employees to sleep as long as they want to. It's grossly unfair.
Yeah, and they also frown on nap times under your desk. Like, I mean, come on. Everybody needs like a minute to just a siesta. I think the Spanish have it correct.
Yes. Maybe it would be worth trying to introduce that. An hour, 2 hours nap after lunch sounds very enticing sometimes. And as I could make the case for myself that since I'm rubbish in the afternoon anyway, I might as well just drop off and have a nice nap.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, honestly, like we could all benefit from being less cranky. There was an author I was listening to speak. Oh, it was Charlie Jane Anders, who was saying that her dad always said that there's no such thing as grown-ups. There's just children who are pretending. It's like, we all could use nap time. We would all be better off.
Well, do you know, it's interesting to hear that because I still say to people, I don't know what I'm going to do when I grow up.
Me too.
So maybe we never get there. I mean, I'm positively ancient now, but inside I don't feel any different to when I was 16. Yes, my knees give me a little bit of trouble and my back every now and then, but mentally I think I'm still 16 and irresponsible.
Yeah, well, you're better off than I am. I'm mentally 12, but...
Oh, that makes me the mature one in this partnership then.
It's true. Well, it has been so delightful talking to you, and I'm really sad that we're out of time because I could just sit here and talk to you all day. You're lovely, and thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much. I've really enjoyed it.
Thanks. So you can find me at eshaverbooks.com or on Instagram, eshaverbooks. And Jodi, you have a website as well?
I do, and I'm frantically fishing around for a business card with my website on it, and I can't find one anywhere. But yes, you're right, I have a website.
It is there somewhere on the interwebs.
Yes, if you just go for Jodi Taylor online, it's bound to produce something.
It'll get you close, and that's all that matters.
Yes. Example of a flibbity-gibbet author here. Sorry. I'd like to thank everybody very much for listening. It was lovely to meet you all today.
Thank you so much to Melissa and Jodi for taking the time to record this episode with me. Jodi was an author that was new to me when Melissa suggested them, and I cannot wait to read all of her books now after listening to this episode. Eccentric time travel fantasy is right up my alley. Like I said, we're going to take a 1-month mid-season break so that I can celebrate my upcoming 30th birthday by traveling to see some friends a little before it happens. But if you are looking for more podcasts, as this is our last season, why not check out the Greenlight Bookstores podcast? They are in their 3rd season. They are booksellers, chatting with authors, much like you see on this podcast, and you get to support a great local independent bookstore. What's not to love? If you like what we do here on the podcast, don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at MisshelvedPod. We will be back in a month, and until then, happy reading.